All right, many thanks for joining us on another episode on Engendered. I am Victoria Agbi.
Welcome to the program this evening. I am Pamela Ajaero. Like you all know, is a program where we'll bring you everything that relates to the female gender. And today we'll be bringing another exceptional topic for your consumption, but that will be coming after this break. To stay with us.
Welcome back again. And just as Pamela said before we went on that break, Engendered is a program where we discuss everything about the female gender. And of course, we have an exceptional topic with an exceptional guest today in the studio. But before you get to meet her or, of course, get to know the topic, let me read this to you. I'm sure to create a background of our topic. With technology playing a crucial role in the world development, both technology and law have been predominantly male-dominated, with women being underrepresented in various roles and leadership positions. However, there is a strong push for change and progress. Now, according to a report by the World Economic Forum, women hold only 17% of major technology jobs, including programming or software development. As regarding funding, only 1 in every $15 raised in Africa ecosystem goes to the women-owned tech ventures. According to reports by Statista, women's representation in the Nigerian National Parliament is incredibly low. Now, as of 2019, there were only 29 women in the National Parliament, which is about 6% of the total number of members today. Now we'll be discussing a topic: bridging gender gap in technology and law as a means of women empowerment. Doing this with us is no other person but when I saw the name, I was like, is it Mina or Mina? But let me say it the way I know it. So Mina Obeten. She is a tech lawyer, public relations professional, founder of eLawyer Nigeria, and an award-winning legal tech and media company that has paved the way for over 370,000 young lawyers in Nigeria and diaspora. What a profile. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So did I got the pronunciation correct?
Okay, so it's Mina. You got the Mina part correctly. Obeten, actually.
Obeten.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you do today?
Very well, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Welcome to the
Such a
program this
beautiful
evening.
face
Oh my God.
with beautiful profile.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Tech, the rest. Well, why not just perhaps art?
Okay.
For the face,
I think I've tried that before, but it didn't work out well. So let's stick to this one.
And the voice is not matching the body, but wow, it's really exceptional.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Well, it's beautiful
Yeah.
having you.
Thank you so much.
You saw the background I read earlier, or you heard rather. There is a gap. We've said there is a gap in underrepresentation in so many aspects of life as regards women, men, and the likes, and in tech, which seems to be just communication, there's still a gap. So why do you think there is a gap?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So first of all, I think it's cultural that we get to experience most of this. I would call it unconscious biases, because sometimes we project a certain narrative on a certain gender based on what we are used to seeing, right? And I think that is pretty much what has affected both the tech ecosystem, the legal ecosystem, and most ecosystems in the world. The fact that we have projected, unconscious biases on people. For instance, I think there's, the problem is not really the fact that we don't have, or the fact that we have a bit of underrepresentation in the tech, space. When it comes to women, I think the problem is first the lack of interest, right? From secondary school, you see that the people who, in fact, from the home, there are already those gender rules where you say, oh, the girl is supposed to be in the kitchen, and then the boys are supposed to be doing the very technical things, fixing bulbs, working and all of those things, and I think from the home, it starts there.
Yeah.
And then you go to the school unit or the, you know, the secondary school level, the classrooms, and then you hear things like, you know, when I grow up, you hear from the women, you hear things like, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And then the guys will be like, oh, I want to be an engineer, I want to be an architect. You know, so already there's a role, there are gender roles that we have assigned to every gender. So the interest is not there for the female gender to go into male-dominated spaces. I mean, in current time, we have seen a bit of progression because the world is changing, right? And now women are now in male-dominated, you know, companies and male-dominated industries, right? But it all boils down to the interest that is nurtured from the home circle to the secondary school circle up to when they get to tertiary institutions. So I think we need to start changing those roles, right? And making it open so women have interest for things that originally we would see as, you know, male dominated, or for sectors that we would originally tag male dominated. So it starts from the interest, building interest, you know, making young girls, young women know that, you know, there are also prospects and potentials of them doing well in these areas that society has tagged male dominated.
Okay, in your opinion, do you think there are key skills or attributes a woman should already have before they venture into this tech space or law space, or anybody can just venture into it?
So I think anybody can venture into these industries. For instance, I studied law, but by the grace of God, I'm more into the tech space than, you know, the legal space because of my interest in tech. Now, I am a self-taught tech person. Most of the things I know, I learned them by myself. And the world has progressed a lot, you know, in such a way that these days you can get resources online. You can get mentors who are not within your immediate environment or community. So I think mentorship is one thing that we need to promote with this generation. So young girls, look up to people who are already in that industry, and you know, those people can sort of beam their light on the younger generation of women who want to come into the tech industry. So I think it's possible for people to just get into the industry if you have the passion, if you know, love that particular area, or you have interest for that. You can build your skills, hone your skills, and you know, get good at it.
Okay, now let's go to you. You're into tech. That's what you said.
Yes.
Aside from, although you studied law, you do tech.
Yes.
So what's it like competing in the field? Should we say competing? What's it like working in the field where it is male dominated for you? Your experiences.
Okay, so for one, I the funny thing is, so I run a law blog, and funny enough, I'm like one of the only female law bloggers in the country, so to say, right? And first, it's been difficult breaking into that industry because people just believe, you know, when people think, oh, this person might not have the capacity to do as much because she's a woman. Already we see women as weaker vessels, women as soft. You know, when it comes to technicalities or technical things, you look at the guys, it's not women. So I have faced some of those things in dealing with some people. You know, I'll be chatting with some clients most times on the blog, and they don't know it's a woman chatting, and then most times they use he. And inside my head, I'm like, okay, is it only men that, you know, do things like this? So yes, I have encountered a bit of those biases when dealing with clients. But when you know what you're doing, right, and you're confident enough in yourself, your craft, you know, I don't think you let any of those things stop you. So how I manage to deal with all of those things are, you know, I just focus on my job, focus on my work, and I try to be the best at it. Because most of the time, women will say, oh, we're suffering biases, you know, gender inequality and all of that. But sometimes when you look at it critically, some women don't even put in the work.
But
right?
But wouldn't you say the reason why women would not want to perhaps venture into that part of technicality, especially going to school to study the science and the rest, because of course those we already see in reality on the field, they are not as much as it should be. Like you talked about gender roles. Now I was talking to someone recently, and she said perhaps she's into tech too, that before she gets deals, she had to like change her DP and put a male picture there. Okay, that's the only way she gets these most times. So the environment is not favorable. Don't think that's the reason why you don't even see women
Venture.
perhaps studying science subjects and the rest.
So we have women actually studying sciences, subjects in the sciences. There are a lot of them. But the problem is when they come out of school, there are no jobs. And then interviewers will look at you in a certain way when you come with, I'm a woman, especially in engineering fields. Most people will not take you seriously, right? So I agree that, yes, women face, that's the harsh reality. Women face a lot in the outside world. But I think regardless, I usually say this thing, right? As an aside, I tell women that when there's no seat for you on the table, you bring your own table. So I'm trying to build something, I'm trying to do something that has never been done within the legal industry. I recently pioneered an industry, the PR in law industry. I'm literally the first lawyer who is in that space because law is a very revered position, a very revered sector where advertising is prohibited. But I found a way to help lawyers put out content in such a way that they don't breach any provision of the rules of professional conduct, right? So I created a table for myself, right? In that industry, wherever you find yourself, the society is very unfair to women. We know that. But don't let that deter you from doing what you're supposed to do or from, staying focused or from seeing the bigger picture. I think there's more we can do if we just focus on our journeys in spite of the biases or the barriers that have been set for women. So there's so much more we can do if we stay focused and just push ourselves out there.
Also, from your experience, what other key challenges have you faced so far in this tech sector?
Okay, I think one of the major challenges, I didn't know that this particular one existed until I actually experienced it. So it's the pay gap, right? We hear of the pay gap thing when it comes to gender equality and gender parity, but it's a reality. So there are most of my male colleagues that will bargain for something and they get it at the flip of a hand or their fingers. They just get it, and because I'm a woman, I have to put in more effort. I have to do so much more. And then sometimes you even see men who want to take advantage of you, right?
It's common.
To actually give you that contract, which you wouldn't see when it comes to the guys, right? The world is, some people say the world is it's a man's world, and the world is pretty much structured in such a way that women are always put on the other end, the disadvantaged side. And actually I've had to go through some of that, right? So the pay gap and the fact that women get what's the word, women are objectified most of the time to get certain things is a major problem that I myself have actually faced. So yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you spoke about mentorship, and most times in other fields, I've often heard that women are often not available to mentor people, especially because of this competition of a thing. So do you think it's same applicable to the tech industry and of course law? Because the other day I was in the courts and we saw a lady, a very young lady, who talked down on an elderly person, and it just seemed as though lawyers, especially female lawyers, are very difficult. And tech too, the same thing. And that's why most times you see the male gender often want to struggle so as to not allow women being that feel like, oh, when a woman is a tech person, she's hard, she's difficult, she's not perhaps she does not give people the chance to. And the same thing for lawyers too. That's that notion they carry about that women who are in these positions are difficult. So then they often talk about the challenge of mentorship. If someone is difficult, then what's the probability of having a mentor for that person? So do you think mentorship, I know it could go a long way, but do you see mentorship playing in tech industries currently?
No, I don't, because first, there are no women who are, we don't have a lot of very successful, women who are in that industry. For instance, let's look at the world. Some of the richest people in the world who are in the tech space are not women. You see Elon Musk, Bill Gates, all of these people are not women, they are men. So when you talk of mentorship, you're talking of somebody who has walked through a certain path and can guide the younger one. So a mentor is like a traffic warden, basically guiding you on how to go about certain things. But because we don't even have women in that space, it's a male dominated space, that's the truth. And until recently, you know, the percentages were very what's the word, it was very unequal, right? So I think we need more women in that space who can mentor people. I know someone who is doing fantastic work in the tech space, but she is more into cybersecurity. That's a CC Ned. That's her name on Twitter, Confidence Stavely. But that's one of the only, you know, only people I know who are really into that industry. Now, you said something about women being difficult, right? I mean, look at the society now we have found ourselves in. Like, we get triggered over everything. We're always on the defense side because society has just, you know, unconsciously put us in that place where this is not an excuse for bad character. Please don't have bad behavior, you know. But yeah, society has kept us in that place where we're always very defensive about everything. And we feel like, you know, people are always coming at us because we're women, right? You know, so I think there's more we have to do in terms of mentorship, and women need to get into that space more, right? Because we need to mentor the young ones. We need to make them see prospects in that industry.
Okay, so since we do not have, I'm sorry, Pamela, this is a follow-up question. So since we do not have women in that space who could mentor, do you think, or would you advise the opposite sex, mentorship from the opposite sex?
Well, you know, the relationship you have with the opposite sex a lot of times might not be the same. The dynamics of your relationship with the opposite sex might not be the same with, you know, a woman or a female. So, if the opposite sex has the capacity, the competence, the experience to mentor you, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I think it's better when it's a woman mentoring a woman, because we have shared experiences, right? We sort of understand ourselves better. We understand our biology better. We know how to communicate with ourselves better in such a way that we would understand. And women are emotional. It's different with men. There are certain things that they might not understand on a certain level, right? And mentorship is not just, it's not a surface relationship. It's a deep relationship. So when it comes to things like this, you know, I don't think it's a problem to have a male mentor, but I think we need more female mentors in that space. And even though the percentage is very small, I know that there are a couple of women who are in the tech space in Nigeria now, you know, who are open to mentorship. Now we even do group mentorship, so you don't have to be now it's not like a one-on-one thing, so people
More like a community.
People have these communities where they mentor you collectively, because I think that way it's easier to reach out to more people than just doing, you know, the mentorship of one-on-one and, you know, personalized mentorship. So yeah.
Okay, now how can more opportunity be enhanced so women can venture into the sector? Because you complained earlier that we don't have lots of women in that space. And also talking about this organization of tech and law, how can they promote diversity and inclusion, especially for women?
Okay, so for the question is in two parts.
Yeah.
For the first part, I think we can encourage more women in that space by funding women who want to go into the tech sector, right? Because I don't think we have enough seed funds that cater to women, young women who want to go into.
So who will be funding?
The government, right? I'm always very particular about what are we paying taxes for? Taxes are supposed to come back to empower the citizens and help the community, right? So the government should prepare tailored programs that are tailored to help women in tech, you know, scholarships that are tailored to help women in tech, even international scholarships, right? We have bilateral relationships with a lot of countries who are very advanced technologically. Look at Rwanda, that is just here. Rwanda is one of the best in Africa when it comes to tech. So we can send some women out there for fellowships, right? Let them go and learn. Let them go and interact with people who are in that space as well. So yes, I think that's one of the ways. Then mentorship, right?
Organizations
can actually take up, tech organizations can actually take up, you know, a certain quota of women yearly and say, okay, this is our own CSR, this is what we want to do this year. So I think that way we're able to bring more women into that space when we show them that there's room for you here to grow, to learn, and to become all you intend to become. There are prospects for you here. So I think that way we would help more women come into that space. And then for the second question, sorry, I think I've forgotten that one.
Like how organizations can promote diversity and inclusion, particularly for women.
So I think first we need to make this a corporate culture thing, right? We need to incorporate inclusion and diversity into the corporate system, right? Where offices make it a policy that they have zero tolerance for any sort of gender harassment, gender insensitivity, or anything in that line. I think that way we would have made head progress. And then we have policies. We have a lot of beautiful policies, but the implementation is usually the problem. So yeah, again, I think we should start from the grassroots, sensitizing people more and more. Yes, we've had dialogues, we've been talking about these over and over again, but I think we need to talk more about it. We need to take these conversations to offices, government parastatals, agencies. In fact, when you walk into a government office, on the wall, there should be a notice there, zero tolerance for any form of, gender inequality, gender insensitivity, gender parity, or just things in that line. I think that way we would have made good progress in terms of creating a more inclusive and diverse community or nation.
Okay, now talking about gender roles still most often in time, because women are seen to be perhaps mothers, they have to cater for family and the likes. And earlier I heard you said sometimes I make research, I work just to ensure, because I know when it comes to digitalization and technology, it's not static. It evolves. And as such, you have to make research, you have to learn on your own and build yourself. So do you think this could be one of the reasons why we are not actually seeing women in the field? Because most times these women go back home. Okay, they need to take care of their children. They need to get married. They have to get married. They have to take care of family. I see Pamela laughing. So would you want to choose between sometimes our guest was here the other day and she said something about being in a fellowship, and they said for you to be successful, it means you're not married. That's how they consider success in their own words. No, I know I'm saying you're married already. So tell us, is it possible to be in tech, have a family, and of course be successful in tech and law?
Yes, it's very possible. So I've been married for 4 years and I've been working for more than that, and I tell people that you need to find a way to integrate. I don't talk work-life balance because work-life balance is, is a mirage. It's not possible. I tell people that, yes, you can't, one thing must always be, on the bottom of your priority pyramid. That's the truth. So there's one thing you prioritize, and there's another thing that would always suffer because you're putting more effort in one. So I talk about work-life integration. Find a system, have a system where you can sort of integrate the things that you do. And of course, if you have an understanding partner, that's another discussion anyway. It makes the work easier. And the pandemic ushered in a very different world, right? Where people can now work remotely, and I think that should be considered by lots of organizations. But I see that now that we have, softly transitioned into, we're softly getting used to, or we've transitioned out of the COVID-19 era, right? Organizations are back to in-house practice, right? Everything is back to normal. But I think we can also create remote work roles like we see in advanced societies, right? Where, we structure it in such a way that we factor them in, right? Because we know that biologically women and men are not, that's where I draw the line when it comes to gender equality and my feminism, right? The fact that biologically we are not the same, right? women have to cater to the home. In fact, aside their children, if you have 2 kids, technically you have 3 plus your husband. So you're taking care of 3 people, 1 adult and 2 children, right? So it's a lot that organizations need to factor in, right? But some organizations will say, since you people are saying, some people try to be funny, since you people are saying you want gender equality now, let all of us be equal, work as much as men. Some women even work as much as that, but still we experience, you know, those gender inequalities. So I think organizations need to create a more inclusive environment where they factor in most of these things, that women are, you know, women are caregivers, right? And as caregivers, a lot of times, you know, they might not really have time for certain things. For instance, in the political space, politicians have their meetings at night.
Yes.
And most women, because you're married or because you have kids, you cannot be there in the night. And then they say things like, okay, you know, since you're not here, you are not part of this, you're not part of the process. And so most times they, you know, they just push you aside because you were not there. They don't factor in the fact that this woman has responsibilities. So to create a more inclusive environment, we need to consider that. And then remote work roles, you know, are an in thing now. So for instance, a woman should even take, you know, I feel like the maternity leave they give women a lot of times is even too short. Most organizations, 3 months. Yes, it's too short, because she went through a whole 9-month process. She was coming to work for the whole 9 months. So when she delivers, give her at least, you know, some time to get herself back before resuming. But we don't consider all those things because, of course, you know, we want to be funny and say, oh, gender equality. So let all of us, you know, be in that place. But yeah, I think there has to be those considerations when it comes to married women and, you know, women who have children. And on the other hand, the women also need to find a way to build systems where they can properly manage what they have at hand and prioritize as well.
Okay, we'd like to take you back. Like we've been saying earlier, that we don't have much women in the field and all that. And I think it's because we don't have much girls, that is younger girls, studying STEM. Because it starts from there. So now how do we encourage young girls to go into this and at early age?
So, you know, I saw something funny recently to answer that question, that while we were in secondary school, they were teaching us Introtech as, you know, you have to cut wood, you know, you understand the types of wood and all of those things. That was what Introtech. But Introtech, in actual terms, is introduction to technology.
But we
didn't know that. Even the school curriculum was designed in such a way that they teach you about woods and forests. And what I mean, what is that going to?
It didn't come to my. I'm just hearing
it too.
So those are some of the things that most times I look at it and I just laugh, because, you know, it starts from the foundation, starts from when you're young. You get to understand those things, and that way, more women actually, statistics have shown that more women are actually more progressive when it comes to the STEM. You know, they are more knowledgeable, they are more intelligent in areas in STEM, biology, mathematics, you know, the sciences in general. We have more women who are, you know, very smart in those areas. But the interest has to be groomed from small. So we even need counselors, career counselors in secondary schools, and we don't have that. It's not a thing. So I say this thing every time, that the Ministry of Education has a lot of work to do. It's not just sending their investigators or inspectors rather to go to secondary schools and go and inspect what do they call it, their notes, lesson notes. That's not what they should be doing. The Ministry of Education should look for a more progressive way they can help these young people develop interest for emerging areas. You know, they can help these young people just basically groom them for the future, because they are the future, and the future is tech. That's the truth. The world is going digital. So I think we need to do that. We need to have career counselors in school who would guide students, look at you, you know, look at where you, what you have interest in, what subjects, you know, are your strengths. Look at your strengths and weaknesses, right? And recommend where this person should actually go. So we need more of that. Mentorship, that's mentorship. And then we need scholarships as well. Scholarships where the government would train young people in areas of technology. train secondary school students. Every year we do cowbell mathematics competition every year, and then all the students get is money. That's all they get. No value afterwards, no sustainability for them. So they're not thinking, the government is not thinking sustainability. They're just looking for, let's just award them immediate gratification to encourage them. But there's no sustainability plan for these kids. After winning this competition, what's next for them, right? So I think we should look at all of that. We should look at it holistically and see how we can start nurturing the interest. The government should put more attention in the secondary education, right? And see how we can groom these young people for the future.
All right, so much to still talk about, and of course, I'm sure Pamela has so much questions to ask, but we'll go on the short break because we have to do one or two. But when we return, we'll continue in gender. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the program. If you've just joined us, you are right on time, though it's the second segment. It is Engendered, and it's coming to you live from our Abuja studios here on KAFTAN television. And we've been discussing an exceptional topic, empowering women, bridging gender gap in technology and law. And our guest has been giving us insightful information about this topic. She's no other person but our beautiful Mina Obeten. Thank you for the information so far. Now, I wanted to actually ask you about the steps educationalists should take to help us in this time, but I see you've already given us that before we went on that break. So now I want to know the global implication of empowering women.
Okay, so they're enormous, right? But first, you put them at par with their global, their global counterparts, right? When you empower women, you're not just empowering one woman, you're empowering a community, right? So like while we were on the break, I talked about a lady who was given an opportunity and sponsored through, her tertiary education, right, and is now giving back to society. She has a foundation that gives back to society called CyberSave, right? So I think you put them at that level where they can be at par with their global counterparts or competitors, and then secondly, you're basically pouring into somebody who is going to shine the light of your country, right? So when you're empowering, as a nation, when we decide to empower somebody, that person is representing that nation. So you hear things these days like when somebody is successful outside Nigeria, someone who is a Nigerian successful outside, you go on social media and you hear things like, this person left because Nigeria is not, Nigeria is probably not supporting their own, or Nigeria does not support creativity. So how about we support these people? They can go outside and be ambassadors of this country, preach Nigeria to the world. During the Olympics last year, there was somebody who did one of I think it was a long meter jump or something. The guy is a Nigerian, but represented America also. Right. So imagine if we were investing in people, talents like that. The person would be on the world stage representing Nigeria. So if we do that, we're building ambassadors, we're building women who would, empower their communities. We're building women who would be world leaders, women who would sit on tables. Look at people like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, right? So we're building the future, basically, when we empower women to that point. So I think we should invest a lot into empowerment of women to put them at that place globally. We're sort of putting them on a global pedestal where they can shine their light on this country. So yes, it goes as far as that.
Okay, what you just said reminded me of my university days because I studied French.
Okay.
And they get to a time 300 level. Yes, 300 level, you have to travel outside the country, any of the French-speaking country, just to further and boost your language, whatever. So then they'll ask you to go to Togo and Benin, and most times people who don't have money. and they end up in Badagry. So true. And when you go to Badagry there, it's still the same English.
Yeah.
So we have
It's the
more of
boundary now.
we have more of Yoruba, like Yoruba speaking people there.
Wow.
You don't even see people who speak English, not to talk of now the French that they are struggling to. So this thing you just said, even if, because I know they have many universities across the 36 states that is studying French, if the government can empower even one from each of the schools, it will get a long way. Them looking for French ambassadors and the rest, it will not be a problem.
And you know, a lot of countries are looking for translators.
True.
So imagine if, you know, a country like Nigeria is empowering its
Just-
own students
yes.
to go outside and learn this language and come back, you
It
know.
will be a lot.
And then you even increase employment opportunities
for them.
for the young people, you know. So there's a lot that we can do, but I think the government is not seeing this much. You know, the government is more focused on, you know, who is throwing Twitter bans, who is insulting the government, or who is doing
to
this.
arrest them.
You know, we're not focused on the right thing. So the government needs to change its focus, you know, to looking at how they can encourage young talents, creativity, innovation, you know. If you look at this country, what is putting Nigeria on the world map is the entertainment industry. That's the truth.
It's true.
So imagine investing in that industry, how much our GDP would grow and increase over the years, you know. So yeah, I think we can do a lot when the government invests in, you know, young people, young talent.
Okay, you've made mention of the government, but one would say we are not where we used to be, of course. So would you say perhaps, because you made mention also of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and so many like her too that are out there and doing Nigerian great, and they are women in terms of empowerment. So would you say to some extent Nigeria has achieved some progress when it comes to
What have we achieved?
okay. You are here. You're an evidence.
Look at the
You're an evidence.
I had to, so
And I know you do a lot of this empowerment programs still.
yes, I do. I have a community of over 1,000 and more women, you know, in different parts of the world actually. And that is my own way of giving back. It's not the government, right? I don't think I have benefited from the government as a young person in Nigeria, to be very honest. Because it is difficult to do anything or to get anything in this country. So you literally have to create a path for yourself by yourself. If you look at Ngozi, for instance, she didn't start from today. I think she started working in World Bank at some point and was now called to be the Minister of Finance for this country. So if you look at the trajectory of her life, she went abroad, she went outside, she was exposed to the world outside, and now came back and her country saw that, okay, this woman is fit to be in this position and gave it to her. And if you look at most of the people we have in government today, right, especially women, I was looking at the profile of most of them. A lot of them schooled outside. Yes. So how about we invest in this country, this economy, we build people in this country who other countries would be looking for, right? You know, and like I said, I'm always very interested in economy, I'm interested in money, finance, and all of that. And if we do all of this, right, we would build more people, like I said, who would shine the light of this country. So I understand that it's not just a government thing as well, right? As a person, you also need to create your own path for yourself. You need to know what you want to do. You need to find a way of giving back to society, right? You need to, you know, find a way of adding value. There are lots of, if you look around you, there are lots of problems you can solve, right? So we don't need to always sit down and wait for the government to, you know, to do something. You can also, in your own little space, in your little community, look for something to do that would add value to the community and add value to the country. In fact, it is your country that will look for you when you're adding value, when you're doing something, right? You don't need to start chasing the government. And I have never chased the government for anything in my life. Even jobs, I have not done it. I've not, you know. I try to, as a young person, I try to get into my creative mode and look around me. There are always problems around that people can solve, right? I identified a problem within the legal ecosystem and saw that, okay, while I'm giving value, I can also be making money from it. So when you're giving value, somehow, there's gratification that comes from that value that you're giving, right? And most of the time, it's not instantaneous, but with consistency, you get to that place. So yes, we also need to build ourselves and create our own paths.
Okay. Now, what role do you think men should play as allies to promoting gender equality in the tech space?
So, we should support more. Men should be part of this conversation. Men should support more women who are in this space. Husbands should also support their wives who are in this space. Because most of the time, some men will say when you're in the tech space, the tech is a whole different world, right? It's a lot of technicalities, and so your hand has to be on deck every other time. So it takes an understanding partner to know that my wife has to work, and so let me understand. So I think, men need to be understanding to that point where they create opportunities for women to be themselves. Within the work environment, we see that a lot of times men are put in leadership positions and women are usually below. And most of the time, it's hard for women to rise to that level, up the corporate ladder. So men who are at that level can promote leadership, promote female leadership within the organization, give women a seat on the table, right? Have these conversations. We need to so a lot of times when you go for conferences, women conferences for instance, and they're talking about gender parity and equality, you see that most of the people on the panel are women. And I don't agree with that because we're talking to ourselves. It's like we're talking back to ourselves. The men need to be in the room because they are the ones who are they are the perpetrators of this gender. There's gender imbalance in society, and the men are the ones that are perpetrating this because our culture already makes it look like, the men are higher than the women. So the men need to be in the room when we're talking about gender issues. They have to be part of the conversation when it concerns gender parity, gender equality, and anything gender.
Another issue is most times they feel threatened about women's success. So anytime they see a woman doing so well, then imagine a woman coming to do so well in the tech space. They say, who is this one? And they feel threatened. I also like men out there not to feel threatened about a woman's success. Like, it's her space. You also can be in your space and do well. You mustn't have to fight with her or bring her down for you to now show. Like I see it happen, it happens like in reality.
So what causes that is insecurity. A lot of men are insecure. You're not sure of yourself. Right? And that's why you'll be competing with a woman or rubbing shoulder with a woman. Let women let them fly, let them have their space. We all have our purpose part, so don't try to stand on anybody's part. You have your part, let's all fly together, right? I think we can work together, but the men need to understand that women are not in competition with men. We understand the value that they add to our lives. We understand the purpose why they were made. We understand that they have their own purpose, but there's a lot that can happen if we work together. In fact, there's more strength in unity. So when the men support the women, there's so much more we can do together.
Indeed. So what advice would you give to young ladies or women who want to venture into tech, for instance, and law, but feel perhaps discouraged or even intimidated?
So I usually like to say, just if you're passionate about anything, just start something. Don't be scared of your environment, because sometimes we're scared of our environment. We're scared of, what will people say? We're scared of a lot of things, right? But be the only voice in your head. Like, lock out every other voice and just be the only voice in your head. Stay focused, right? For me, I have what has pretty much kept me on this path, or what keeps me motivated, is the fact that I have a goal in mind, and my goal is to change the world, right? That's a very generic sentence, a very generic statement, but I want to change the world. There are lots of things I see that I don't like, And because I don't like them, I have to be part of the system so I can change the system. So have a goal in mind. Do not be scared of trying. Do not be scared of stepping out. The world might be unfair to women, but there are lots of prospects for women out there if you can step out. So don't be scared of stepping out. Don't be scared of failure, because oh my God, you're going to fail a lot of times. I have failed so many times. I was talking to someone the other day, I was trying to count my failures. It's been a lot, but one thing I have noticed is at every point where I failed, I grew. I became better, So failure is not actually failing in the actual sense of it. It's actually finding more ways to do something better. So when you fail once, you found a way to do something better, right? So see failure as a form of self-improvement, a form of self-development, And it's also important that we get exposed to information, read wide, interact with people that are not within your immediate environment. Because when you interact with people, what happens is that somehow your mind is open to possibilities, especially forward-thinking people, possibilities that you never knew existed. Sometimes I'll be thinking about something in my head and I don't know how to go about it, and I go for maybe a conference or I go for something and I interact with people and, somehow I get an idea on how to go about that particular thing. So get exposed to information that is not within your immediate environment, and then there's a God factor. Whether you believe in God, Allah, or whoever you believe in, just have a belief system that pretty much helps you and keeps you, keeps you sane, keeps your passion burning, So that way you're on the path to success.
All right, for me, I think one of the things I want to take home from what you've said, I know there are so many questions we want to ask. Of course, time is not on our side because it's fast spent. But one of the things I would like to take home from what you said is the fact that be the only voice in your head, and you should stay focused.
Most times it's not always easy to just be the only voice, because sometimes you might be passing through challenges and you just want to let me share, and maybe you might go to share to the wrong person and they'll end up bringing you so down to the way you used to feel. Some people are so bad and they're ready to wait for your failure. Just fail so we can climb on you.
Exactly.
So that's the thing.
Well, I'm not in the tech industry, just in the arts, although sometimes it could be complicated, but I've been talked down at. Okay, I've been discouraged in so many ways. Like sometimes I don't want to do this again because
she earlier said that she failed, and anytime she failed, she has you have to move on or something. But there are some people who are so unfortunate. They are not in an area where they have people who encourages them.
That's why I said you should be the only voice in your head, because to be honest, you're the only one who can see where you're going to. Nobody can dream your dream. Do you know that? Nobody sees your vision as much as you do. So when you have a picture in your head, when you know where you're going to, it's pretty much easy for you to be the only voice in your head. So there's a program, sorry if I'm taking a bit of time. Problem. So there's a program I organize every year, in January every year. It's a vision boarding program, one of the biggest vision boarding events in Nigeria for women. Okay. So we help them dream their future. We help them visualize, visualize in paper and manifest it. And over the years, I've been doing this for 4 years, and over the years, we've gotten testimonies from several women of how they came for our event, they visualized something and it came to reality. It's happening in January again, So these are things that you can have a vision board, right? Have a vision board where you look for pictures of where you want to go, where you see yourself. Put it on the vision board. What I do is I put the vision board in front of my bed. So I can paste it on the wall. When I wake up in the morning, that's the picture I see. That's the image that sticks to my head. So whatever anybody is saying, whatever noise, I'm getting from outside, it's not affecting me, because every morning I wake up and that vision is in my head. So what you're saying that's not my problem, right? And even when you don't have the resources to actualize that dream, even when you don't have the support you need, trust me, the mind works in an amazing way. Somehow, doors will open for you, opportunities will come that you never imagined.
Indeed.
So just have a vision in your head and be the only voice affirming yourself. And affirmations work.
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for instance, now, if you have people who are discouraging you or who are trying to, sway you from the path that you're going to, you have to affirm yourself every day. I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am this,
Indeed.
and that
You
way.
affirm yourself
Yeah.
every day. Thank you,
Thank
Mina.
you so much
Yeah,
for
thank you so
today's
much.
section.
Indeed. It's
Thank
been a
you
wonderful
too.
time.
Thank you
I hope
for
when we
having
call on
me.
you next time, you
Oh,
you'll be
gladly.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, viewers. We've been discussing women empowerment, especially when it comes to tech and law. It's been a wonderful session, and I am Victoria Agbi.
Yeah, I guess, don't forget what our guest said. You say, dream your dream. Yes, when you dream your dream, then you make effort into making it a reality.
Indeed.
My name is Pamela Ajaero. Bye
Bye.
for now.